Welcome to the Heart-Centered Entrepreneur Series. My name is Jody Maley, and I've been an entrepreneur and business owner for over 27 years now. Thanks for joining the podcast, and I can't wait to share with you tips and ideas on how to grow your heart-centered entrepreneur business. As a personality dimensions coach, I help entrepreneurs discover who they are at their core so they can have real and authentic sales conversations with their ideal clients. We all started or joined a business so that we can make an income on our terms. Whether you're just starting out in your entrepreneur journey or have been in sales for a while, the key to any business is sales and nurturing the sales relationship. So I invite you to sit back, relax, maybe even have your favorite drink and take some notes as we have fun delving in to learn more from the top 1% to 2% income earners who are making such a difference and impact for themselves and their beautiful teams. Their tips and ideas will uplift and inspire you in a heart-centered, authentic way to help lift you up, move you forwards towards your perfect dream and goal. So stay tuned to the end of each podcast as I will share a little gift from me that I know will get you inspired in your beautiful business. Welcome to the Heart-Centered Entrepreneur Series, and I'm so happy to introduce a new friend. I like new friends. New friends are fun friends. This is Shannon Mains from originally from the States, but then you moved up here to Canada, and now you're back in the States. So I'm going to let Shannon introduce herself and tell us a little bit about you. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And hello, everybody. I am so honored to be here and excited to share a little bit of my story and journey. So yes, I have moved 18 times now.
Sorry. You have moved, Shannon, probably about as many times as I have. And recently in COVID, we have moved 3 times.
Okay. You beat me by one because we moved twice during COVID. But we did move from Canada back to America during COVID. So that was interesting. Quite the experience, to say the least. But yeah, I grew up in California. My kind of backstory and history is I had always, from about the age of 5, wanted to be a NICU nurse. So I was very passionate about babies, like the smaller, the better. It just had always been something on my heart. And I was lucky enough to be able to pursue that and follow that dream. And I loved what I did, absolutely loved what I did. And then throughout a few years into that career, I also became a travel nurse. So that kind of started my moving, traveling bug that I have. And met my husband as well. And we just decided we're gonna move as much as we can. We're gonna take every opportunity we can while we were young at that time. And then it was like, okay, we're getting older. We need to become adults. We need to settle down. And, we had moved to Boston and we moved to Oregon and all over California. And so then we ended up in Washington State. And we did the whole adulting thing. We built our first house and, we got what we called like our real jobs that were stable jobs, and kind of noticed that we were unhappy. Not with each other, thankfully, but just in life. Like we felt unfulfilled. We were stuck in this place of like debt and doom. And it didn't matter how much I worked. We were just stuck. And I picked up a second full-time nursing job working night shifts. And then I had to pick up a third job on night shifts. So a lot of weeks I was working 7 nights a week, 12 to 16 hours a night, sleeping 2 to 3 hours a day if I was lucky, and just watching nothing in our life financially really improve was such a disheartening feeling.
Right.
And I just kind of sat back, and I remember crying one day. It was about 5:15 or 5:14 because the cutoff to get canceled for nursing was 5:15. So 5:14, I got that call that my shift was canceled that night, and I knew instantly we weren't going to be able to pay our bills. It was just, there goes another one. And I thought, I'm never going to be able to get ahead. I'm never going to be able to get out of this. I'm never going to be able to see my family and travel and spend time with my husband, which was why I had worked so hard to get, a nursing degree in the first place. And I was crying while making my top ramen and just thought, this is it. This is the next 30, 40 years of my life. And I started having these thoughts that there's got to be something else out there for me, but I had zero clue what that was. Zero clue. And few months went by, my sister kind of showed up, flew up from California to visit us. And she said, "You're a hot mess." And I agreed. Said, "I know I am, but I don't know
I
what
love
else."
family.
I know. She's so real with me. And she's like, "You've got to talk to a friend of mine. She's doing something with some company." She didn't even tell me it was the right name. She said it was Rodan and Flowers. Got the name. Half right. But
I
literally,
love
she
it.
did nothing. And I thought, okay, well, I don't know what this is. I don't think I'll be good at this. I don't think I have time for this, but I'll check it out. And I talked to her friend that night, and I was pretty much within 4 minutes blown away by the company, by the brand, by the caliber of the products, the doctors who created it. And I just thought, this might be for me, it might be what I need. And that was kind of, I would say 4 to 10 minutes later, I joined and jumped in and didn't look back. And our entire life changed from that. Yes.
Wow. And you know what's amazing with that story is key things that people have had similar paths.
Yeah.
I was younger. My babies at the time were 4 years and about 6 months old. And I remember sitting there, and I actually come from a background where my father was a teacher and always had a side gig of some sort. So I always knew what entrepreneurship was. However, I saw the struggles of entrepreneurship too, and how my parents worked really hard, how they had a lot of inventory. We used to joke when we were kids, we used to hide among the Amway boxes of
Right.
and I thought, like I knew it was something I would probably want to do. And I just remember changing diapers and just sitting there on the floor with my baby. My baby's crying, I'm crying. And again, just like you said, everyone has that moment of where a switch kind of goes off. And it's the switch of, I think I'm supposed to do more. There must be more than just this. And whether it's propelled by, like for myself, it was propelled by human contact is what I was seeking, right? Human contact. Sure. And then of course, then the money was great because I'm like, what? I'm doing home parties and I'm getting paid like legit $200 or $300 a night and not paying daycare costs. Like, this is ridiculous. What? And so then there's that. And then, or there's just like you said, you've been let off from a job and it's like, what in the world do I do? And so for anyone listening, this is kind of a key thing because your product, your service, the company you represent, always be aware that there is someone out there, just a Shannon or a Jody, who wants what you have, but they don't know it yet.
Absolutely. So true. And that's what I think when people are starting now or they're, thinking about joining, I say, this was everything I didn't know I needed. Yes. And you can be that for somebody else. This doesn't have to be, everybody's looking to take it to the level that I have, but you can help somebody else who maybe wants to take it to the level that I have and change their life. And then along that journey, get to change so many other lives.
Absolutely. And the fact too, that everybody starts out with a different dream. And again, when I started, I didn't have to have inventory, right? So I was like, oh, I can do a show. It gets delivered to their house. Cool cat. I just give them the slips. It's all delivered there. And so for me, that was a big awakening. Yeah. And then we're going to talk here a little bit about your leadership journey too. Because I think with top leaders, there's also a pivoting point in their life where that leadership comes in, because you join a business because you want the money. Yeah. And for me, yeah, or you join a business because there's that initial need. Like, so for you, it was, you had been laid off from a job. For myself, it was like diapers and kids. And like, is this all that there must be more? I know I meant to do more. So that was my propelling thing. So I was having fun. I was doing stuff. And I say I got into leadership, accidental leadership, I called it, because at one of my shows, somebody from a different company had come up to me and you just did $1,000 show and you got 4 bookings. I want to join your team. And I'm like, what? People can sign up?
Yeah, that's a
And I
thing.
literally have been doing this about 8 months.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I was up here in Canada, middle of BC, little town. I'm still actually in that same town. We've moved a lot, but we've come back here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't even know I was the top salesperson in Canada. I just was doing my thing, doing my thing.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, because you can make money just on sales end of stuff, and your company, I'm sure, is the same.
Yep. Yep.
But then
Absolutely.
that accidental leadership, and I was like, oh, oh. And so then very quickly, I signed on 2 or 3 people and leveled up into their ranks of leadership. And then I didn't know what to do with them.
I love it.
And I'm like,
I understand that completely.
yeah. And so then I'm like, well, maybe I better go to a convention that's locally here in my for you guys, it would be your state, but up here, province. I'm like, oh, so I drove 8 hours to go to a, team convention type thing to figure out people are signing up. Now, what do I do? Because again,
Yeah.
we kind of go in these little spurts of, so tell us a little bit about how your leadership, like I said, mine was accidental leadership, but how did yours evolve?
Yeah. So, I think I was in a way had like a unicorn horn in understanding the value behind the business side. And so it was probably within just a few weeks of joining that I was like, that's where it's at. And not even in the money point for me. I mean, it is great to be able to make an income and build a business from helping other people. But it was just kind of this aha moment that I could change people's lives by sharing the business side. It wasn't so much about just being able to help their skin or now help their hair, but it was changing their life. And so I got very excited and very passionate about helping people join and start their own business and really understanding where they were at, like what were they coming in wanting and where were they at as far as everything goes. What was their life like, and what did their social media desires, what were they like, because everything was sort of changing 10 years ago and like kind of becoming more social media based, so there was a lot of a learning curve for it. And so I think because I came in with just this complete, I think it's like that nursing heart in me is what I kind of attribute it to, is I wanted to help people. And so I loved that aspect of leadership, but it was very much a fail forward learning process, right? Like I didn't know what I was doing. Nobody had taught me how to be a leader, and especially being new into the business. I think my first person joined me 2.5 weeks after I joined. So I'm trying to help her and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Full disclosure.
Yeah.
I love it.
So thankfully I did use the resources that our company and other leaders had, but it's just been so much of really, taking a step back, looking and doing like a lot of ego checks with myself, and really trying to understand that everybody is going to have a different process and a different journey within this business or within this industry, and walking alongside them at their pace. That was sort of a big switch for me in like, I wanted people to want to go as fast as I did, or want to come to where I'm at, or be on the trips that I was getting. And not everybody wanted that. So it was really, it was a lot of learning to match people's efforts and show up with them along their journey.
Yeah. And I think I actually haven't talked about this on a podcast. Maybe I have, I can't remember. But when I was introduced into leadership from my leader, and the leader I had, who was not my direct sponsor, I think she was 2 up, had said, if you're really, really wanting and keen into even more leadership. So when I went to that first little mini convention, kind of like, it was about 300 or 400 women there. But what struck me was that they were average women, just like myself, that were up on stage. And then, of course, that got me to there's my more. Because I am a natural speaker and leader. That's actually my DNA coding, and people who do like personality. Well, obviously I'm a personality coach, and I know that now, but I didn't at the time. And so that I need to do that next step. And so she actually got me into the top leader, the regional vice president of our group at the time. And I remember her saying, because she, just like you said, working with people at the level that they want to be working at. And I think that that's a preponderance of really, really great leaders, is having that awareness and that, I had a top Mary Kay lady here, and she said kind of the same thing. She's like, I'm just there ready for them when they're ready to step up. And she's earned like 18 cars with that company and stuff. And it's like really cool. I love her growth stuff, but same thing. So I remember going up to her and she said this to me, and you've probably heard this, and I'll see if it's statistically true. But she said something that stuck with me. And it was like, for every 10 people who join your team, there's going to be the 1 or 2 that fall out. It wasn't for them, or leadership wasn't for them. That's fine. They've, gotten their freebies and gone on. 2 or 3 will do like the minimum requirements to be there as a leader or consultant. 3 of them will actually hit quotas and do a little bit above, and then 1 out of your 10 will be your leader to develop.
100%. 100%. Nailed it. That is exactly it. Yeah. I just say that with those few that fall off quickly, they just joined witness protection.
Yes.
Yeah. But no, it definitely I find that to be absolutely true. And I think that's an important thing for newer consultants, newer, people in the business to understand that not every person is going to come in and want what they could have, or see the vision, or, believe in themselves enough to be able to go for it. But yeah, that's definitely an accurate statistic.
Right. And so when she said that, and of course, me being me in my personality, I was like, I wonder why that is that way that is. And so when she said that, again, I was brought up with this, and I thought, well, I'm going to do things I'm a different notch, right? I am never the in the box person. I'm always the one. I'll take apart the box. I'll look through the box. I'll flip it. I'll do everything else that you can. And I thought, oh, that's a crazy statistic. And so then I went on a search and journey of that. And then I did my bringing people in a little bit differently. And I'm like, what if I had like 5 out of those 10 people want to be the leader? And then 2 or 3, like I always kind of aimed higher.
For sure.
And then some of those people that, when I had that different perspective as leadership, by the way, those people then coming in were like, some of them, I've been in this industry 27 years, and some of those first leaders that I brought into that company 27 years ago are still going. Because I had a different set. And then again, I didn't know this because nobody told me stuff. I'm just up here doing my stuff and putting in front, and this is what I wanted to develop. And then the company was like, you're doing some crazy, amazing things. Like, do you know, like your stats are super high for this? Like, this is the company standards. This is the industry standards, what people do. And you're kind of like at the 75% above. And I'm like, wow, I had no idea. What? Maybe you should tell me. And they're like, no, we want you to tell us. And I'm like,
what are you doing?
And so that's been drawn into what I'm doing now, and why I love having amazing women like you on this podcast is because it gives everyone who has different journeys and different stories of, not giving up. If you knew that you were called into your beautiful company, your beautiful business for a reason, grab hold of the Shannons of the world. She's in your spectrum, like zoom in on her.
Absolutely.
And have those really great, the top 1 to 2%. That's what I found, is that their thinking is a little bit different than the rest.
I think too, you're absolutely right. And it seems like, when people will ask me, what is my secret sauce? Like, what am I doing differently? I'm not doing anything different. I'm just showing up, and I'm believing in it. And I'm using this industry and this business and, this as a way to grow personally. And I think that is then making everything become better and easier and more successful. And then with that, and that success helps other people see what's possible. But, I show up, I do the do, and I'm practicing what I preach. And I think if people can kind of push away their fears and learn what those are, and like learn how to move through them. We all have them. We all come in with, our own kind of fears, worries, worries of prejudgment, all these things that are kind of normal in this industry, but it's who is willing to kind of take a deep breath and move forward through those and just show up. If you're excited, people are going to be excited with you.
Yeah. And I love what you said too, of it's the personal side and the moving forward that I coach a couple of people who own direct sales companies.
Oh, wow.
And one of the things with them, exact same kind of thing, actually, top leaders and even owners of company, we think like they're on this different spaceship and whatever, and they really aren't. It's actually the same kind of mindset thing, but it's the exact same thing of you show up, your vision, if Shannon was not with this particular company and a different one, your vision and who you want to serve would be the exact same. Because that's the other thing of great, like, top income earners of companies that I've realized over 27 years of doing this, is that if you removed you from the company, if the company for some reason went tomorrow, Shannon would know who she would still serve, because your service of people is still the same. Your love of them wanting to attain greatness, no matter what they're doing, the vehicle just shifts and changes.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that that's the thing of people think it's the, oh, I got to change the vehicle and the different vehicle. You know what? Be on the road that you need to be on first.
Yeah.
And then that right vehicle for you will show up.
So. Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's so true.
And even moving. So I find this interesting too, that you guys have moved a lot. And after you've now been involved with Rodan and Fields here, have you moved a lot? Like, have you had to start your business over?
I have. So when we started back in 2012, we were living in Washington State. And then a year later, I retired from my nursing career and we moved to Vancouver, Canada. And that's close where we spent, yes, close to you. And it was, it was such a unique experience because we moved there. We didn't know a single person. I think we had driven through it once on our way home from Whistler. That was it. Didn't know anything about the city and basically showed up. And I was at such a different time in my life to have gone from working every single night of the week to having only this and all the free time in the world. I had to really kind of learn how to be an entrepreneur in a very different way. And I had to learn how to be a business owner and what, kind of setting expectations for myself and how to have this in my life and get my work done and not feel like I wanted to go play and, explore Vancouver every single day. So that was a really interesting challenge, but coming into, a new city, new country, everything was different. I knew that I was going to have to learn. And this was kind of where my personal development and growth journey started, was I had to step out of my own way and I had to get comfortable being uncomfortable, knowing that's what it was going to take to grow and to just not even including the business, but just to make friends, to make connections, to have people, humans that I could go out with and feel like I was normal. So, that was quite an experience and one that I'm so thankful for. And from there, we spent 4 years in Vancouver, the longest we've ever lived anywhere. And then we left and went to Denver, Colorado for about 2 years. We moved twice while we were there. And then we went to Montreal, Quebec, Canada, spent about 2 years there. And then in 2021, early 2021, we decided it was time to go back to America. COVID in Canada were very hard.
and in a French Canadian country.
Yes,
too,
totally.
right? Yeah.
Totally different. It was definitely another learning experience, but yeah, we ended up coming to Orlando, Florida area and have moved now twice since we've been here. So it's, it's funny. I was talking about this with someone from corporate last night and they said, a lot of people will think because you move, you have connections everywhere. And I said, not yes and no. Vancouver, yes, I've got connections, but everywhere else, when you're moving every few months, you don't make friends and connections that easily and that quickly. And so while most people would think that's to my, like, oh, it's just so easy for you because you move all the time, I don't have that core group of people. I don't have, I don't have kids. So it's not like I can go meet people at their school or at the park or at the playground. Like, I don't have that. So anything that I have done or anybody that I've met is because I had to learn how to socially interact and be normal. And as a shy, introverted, original person, it's been a learning curve and a journey for me, but I'm so thankful for all of it along the way. But yeah, now we live in Florida and I go to Disney multiple times a week and, love my life. I'm not complaining.
That's awesome. I love that. And the fact that you've grown into, knowing your style of what you like and enjoy too is really, really important.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up here, I'm going to ask you a couple more questions because, of course, I'm always interested in people and stuff. So I take it that so for people listening, because of course what I do is I help leaders level up who are in, the starting of their business, and like you and me, you started leadership and you didn't quite know how to help those people, and I accidentally started leadership, and now knowing what I know now, I probably do it a little bit differently for sure. But what would you give the advice to your younger self when you first started out? Like, what's that one gem that you would tell yourself?
I think part of it is one, sort of knowing that statistic we were talking about earlier, because that I think would have kind of helped with, I don't want to say heartbreak, but with that, like, oh, people are, they're not doing it because of me, which is not at all, the case. But I think when it comes to the leadership side of things, I would have been a little simpler in my onboarding. I wanted to vomit everything on them. Like, yes, all of this. And it's like, let's take a step back and let's have a very simplified onboarding plan that was the same for everybody in a way that I could then turn around and say, look, I've done the same thing with this person who's done amazing things in their business. And I did the same thing with this person who, at the end of the day, it wasn't for them. That's okay. And that would have, I think, taken off a lot of my plate and my time, and also then my heart. Like, it would have just been like, okay, this is part of it and that's okay. So I think that was probably one of the biggest lessons when it comes to the leadership side of things I would have done differently.
Yeah, I love that. And that is a really great statistic, because when people come in and they think that everyone that they sign, they would love to have a superstar, right? And if it's one thing that I've learned doing personality dimensions, and by the way, I know my amazing team here will let anyone know my upcoming workshops I hold twice a month. So this is for any leader or you're developing leaders and they're kind of like, I don't even know how to authentically sell to people, let alone build a leader team. You guys are more than welcome to join into those. So there'll be a link for that. But also to give people that, as a new leader, the okay that not everyone is going to be that superstar. And that's what I was going to say. One thing of leadership that I've learned is with the 4 different personalities that we all have, we're really good at knowing ourselves is one thing. And if you don't know, that's okay. You can learn it. You can learn that too. But I think that then you're with people who obviously you're one personality and there's 3 other ones. So it's like, how to relate to yourself, and then you have people join your team at first because they join your essence and they're probably very close to your personality style and you work well together. But what about the 75 other percent? And we always, in this business, and here's where I like to poke the holes a bit. In this business, we're then told, oh, well, then they're just not your people. Just move on to those who are your people. I also have a very different perspective on that, because when I did shows, I'd be always the person, and you Shannon is going to go, oh yeah, I know this person that you're talking about. The person in the room that sits there with their arms crossed, who doesn't seem integrated into what you're saying. And you're like, oh, well, we try not to prejudge people, but let's face it, we do. And we're like, she's never going to host a party with me, whatever. I was always, like I said, opposite thinker, and I'd be like, it's really easy for me to get the yeses. I already know instantly who's going to be saying yes to me and leaning in because we're of similar personality. I can speak their language really easy. The lady with her arms crossed, what can I say or do that would make her host a party? Because I'd always know that if I could get, Marianne or whoever you want to call it to actually host a party, everybody in the room, I've gotten their respect because they're like, she never hosts parties with anyone.
Yeah.
You got her
Yeah.
to book a show. And instinctively, and I didn't know this, but instinctively, I was like, what's the love language that I could say or do that would get the Mary with her arms crossed to say yes? And so that's what I want to challenge you guys with who are listening to this is, what kind of language are you using that you think that person's not a good fit, but they could be. And sometimes that Mary Jane with her arms crossed, when you have spoken her love language and her leadership language and brought that in, those are sometimes your best leaders who are so opposite from you, and you would never have looked at them or thought that they would be the superstar. And all of a sudden they're like, you took the time to actually get to know me. And they appreciate that most. And then they just go, and you're like, I don't know and then other people like, how did you do that? How'd you? And I'm like, I don't know. But there's the other thing too, that I think that's what great leaders also do too, is they even recognize that some of those people that you think, because I'm sure you've had people on your team, like, you're like, well, I don't know if this is going to go with them or how they're going to choose this, but I don't know. They flip their switch on themselves. And I like that.
Absolutely. That's kind of been one of my favorite things is the one-on-one coaching calls with people where I get them to, or help them. I don't get them to do anything, but I help them to like open up with why they said yes to this in the very, very, very beginning, like what was in their heart or what was in their brain about what this could do for them. And if we can kind of figure that part out and follow down that path, I have watched people's businesses transform literally overnight and go from somebody who had done nothing to a top leader within 4 months. And it's, it's like everybody has that power and that potential to do great things in this industry. And it's just sort of untapping that with people. And I had a funny story, I think kind of fits in with what you're saying with the girl with crossed arms. My really good friend for a long time became my sister-in-law when I married her brother. And so for 10 years, she's been watching me do this. And we worked together multiple times, multiple hospitals. And she kept telling me no. And I wasn't going to change our friendship over her saying no. So nothing with that ever changed. But I wanted her to like know, hey, I think this would be really great for you and you'd love it. And for 10 years, it was a no every single time. And she came to visit, stayed 2 weeks with us in Florida last August. And a couple months went by, about a month and a half, and she called me up and she said, here's my credit card. I'm ready to get started. And I'm like, what? Where did this come from? And she said, first of all, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I never took the time to actually learn how this is different than my expectations. And she said, and then I watched you organically and naturally weave this into your life while living this most incredible life where you're traveling all the time, or you're at the pool, or you're out to lunch with your friends, and yet you're still running and operating this business from your phone. And she goes, I was ready. I finally was ready. I was ready to hear about it. I was ready to join. And she joined, and she has been on fire, like absolutely growing this incredible team. She's got a ton of customers, and everybody now, people are joining her going, because you saw the vision and it took you 10 years and you believe in it now, I believe and trust you. And it's just been so great to watch it. Even after 10 years of it, somebody as close as my good friend and sister-in-law, they said no for so long. It doesn't mean that it's not the right business or, thing for them. It just might not be the right time for them. And so it's giving people that permission to like be okay with that being the case. And then eventually their light bulb might go on. So yeah, it's been a really cool journey to watch with her and her just really growing into her own leadership in a few months.
I love it. And I got goosebumps on that story,
Yeah.
which is always when it's a really, really good story.
Yeah. No, it's been special. It's been really special.
Oh, right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your insights. And for those people who are, maybe you have been let go from your job and maybe you're wondering, oh man, what is it that I can do? You know, take a look at starting with a company that you resonate with and a company that, and you'll know, like Shannon knew within, what'd you say, 4 to 5 minutes?
4 minutes. Yep.
Yeah, that this was the journey for her. I was a little different. I loved the products and I was thinking, oh, how can I spend this much? Because I was young. How can I spend this much and my husband not get mad at me? And my girlfriend, like, why don't you just buy the kit? It's probably cheaper. I'm like, oh,
yeah, true.
And so I accidentally stepped into doing this. And so whether you're intentional or it's made for you or it's an accidental thing, this is such a great opportunity for people. And I'm going to leave with a statistic that someone had told me, and it really, now it makes sense. But most people who join into network marketing or a direct sales company, home party plan, whatever is your jam with your company, they don't realize that top income earners who earn significant $100,000 or more of women, this is a North America statistics, by the way, so it goes Canada and the US, 85% of them are in a direct sales or network marketing company, which means the other 15% or maybe a lawyer, a doctor, NICU nurse, whatever. But you're probably on the bottom. Yeah, you're probably on the bottom part of that. And so this is literally 85% of women who are making significant income are doing it this way. And I just love having amazing guests like you, Shannon, who top 1 to 2% of your current company, you can come in here and give us some great inspiration and don't say no, keep the go.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a joy to be on here with you.
All right. And again, Jenna's going to put here into the link for anyone who wants to join in on my next workshop. And again, thank you so much, Shannon, for being here with us today.
Thank
Make it
you.
a great day, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned a lot. Each one of my guests have a special and unique spot in my heart as they have shared what they love about their business and how they truly have grown in their entrepreneur journey. Thanks for sticking around to the end, and I would love to gift to you a fun and easy quiz that you can take right now that will help you assess how you feel about the sales process in your beautiful business. Building relationships, lifting each other up so we can all gain more in our lives and our business is what is truly important to me. And my hope is that in some small way, I've been able to do that for you today. So again, this is Jody Maley with the Heart-Centered Entrepreneur Series here in beautiful BC, Canada. Truly have a great and inspired rest of your day. The link to the quiz will be attached below. And please like, follow, and share this podcast if it inspired you today.